I'm CK. Tonight we're going to do something a little bit different. I'm not going to be building something tonight. I'm going to be checking something and then probably taking it apart. The other day I ordered a capacitor meter, ESR meter, from a manufacturer on Amazon, and I got it and tried it out, and I'm not really happy with it. So I want to do a real side-by-side test, and then if it continues to display the behavior it's been displaying so far, I'm going to open it up, take a look inside, and see what the mechanical assembly looks like, and see what the components look like, and see if I can get a little better idea on why it's not performing the way it should. This is CK from the future breaking in to say it's an interesting process that you'll see. As you can sense, I'm starting this video off a little negatively about this product, but as we use it and get actual evidence, my opinion changes along the way. It's kind of fun to watch. So don't let the negativity fool you. Keep watching the video. It could be kind of fun. Now, this is not an official teardown. I'm not going to end up with a schematic for you out of this because I'm not skilled enough to do that, but I think you may still find it interesting. So let's dive in. So here we are. Capacitor meter, ESR meter. No company name on it. It's checked as an M6013 capacitor meter. Obviously they put a bunch of other stuff in this box also. Comes in yellow or black. I don't recall if there was any opportunity for me to select the color. This looks like a stocking number and it says new on it. Well, as you'll see, that's a little doubtful. So this is what it looks like, and the only thing that is different from when I opened it up today when it came in from the UPS folks, the only thing that's different is I've taken the foam. There was one layer of bubble wrap on it. But other than that, it's as it came. 2 leads, then the unit itself, and a little information pamphlet. Now, as I got it out of the box, I noticed the display screen is already scratched. This caution label is already pulling up, and under the stand there's no screw for the battery compartment. I put the batteries in, by the way. There's no screw for the battery compartment, so that makes me feel less confident that this is a new product. It does have a QC sticker over one of the screw holes, so that's good, so it hasn't been tampered with probably. And again, where's my pointer? M1630 capacitor meter, auto ranging capacitance meter. It's got power, it's got a zeroing button, and it's got a mode range if you want to override the auto ranging. And caution in Chinese and in English: before testing you must discharge the capacity by short-circuiting or resistor below 100 ohm for 2 seconds, or you may damage the meter, which is fine. You don't want to put a charged capacitor on the meter because that would be bad. Now I'm going to be measuring this the values against my Fluke 87V, because folks may disagree about the value of Fluke for their own personal reasons, but one thing I think most people will agree on is that Fluke calibrates their equipment very well, and it stays in calibration very well. See, I set that up on its stand and a little battery door fell off. That's really annoying. I'll find a screw for it if I decide to put it back together. So I'm going to stand these up. So since I just decided to stand these up, I'm going to change the camera position. I'll be back in a second. That's better. Now you can see the screens well. Fluke has the typical LCD. This one has a underlighting. Let me turn my overhead off here. As you can see, there are two LEDs shining light upwards like that. And this screen is really hard to read unless you're dead on straight to it. Again, I'm not going to ding it on that because that's just the way some things are, but I don't like it. And I'll hit the 0 button so it 0 calibrates itself. And I can set the mode range. As I said, there's microfarad, there's picofarad, picofarad again, and nanofarad, and we'll just start there at picofarad. So I've got a bunch of capacitors, and we'll just go through comparing one to the other. Oh, the other thing, if you hear some background noise, the coyotes are out and close tonight, so you may hear coyotes howling in the background. There's a little row of holes here. See that black part? I don't know if that's to stick capacitor leads in or something. I'm not going to mess with that. The instruction manual, such as it is, doesn't mention them. Let me go through and tell you what it does say. Features, it's a yin-yang auto-ranging capacitance meter, 28 by 64 dot matrix LCD, 5-digit display, large range of measuring from 0.01 picofarad to 470 microfarad, which is enough for DUI user to professional engineer. Fast reading speed and high accuracy up to 1%. That, my friends, is what I'm going to question here, because that has not been my experience. New housing with stand. Well, that's good. And you can use micro USB as external power, which is actually nice. I'm going to grant them that. Okay, see what else it says. It's just the ranges. Again, 1% accuracy is what they say. Power on. And then 4 is, that is a socket. You can use the 8-pin socket to measure the capacitor. Okay, so that's a nice feature too. If you have a disc capacitor, you can put the negative side, or an electrolytic, negative side and positive side in those little holes. That can be handy. So that I don't have a problem with. I do have a problem with the display. The display is kind of bad. Auto sleep around 8 to 10 hours for not testing. It will shut down automatically to save power. So it goes into sleep mode after 8 hours to save power. It seems like a long sleep delay to me. I don't know about to you, but again, I don't want to seem too picky, because really the bottom line is you want to know if it works. So, and I'm going to be writing these values down as I test things. So let's start with a nice 16 microfarad, 475 volt capacitor. This is a capacitor I typically use in a guitar amplifier to smooth the AC coming in. And we'll put it on this little guy. And consistent with my experience, this is looking good. 16.2 microfarad, which is certainly reasonable. Well within acceptable tolerance for any capacitor. So I'll unplug it, and then I'll ground it just to be sure it's got no charge, residual charge from being used there. Now put it on the fluke. Positive terminal, negative terminal, and the fluke calls it 16.8. Which is okay. I mean, they differ a little bit, but that's not enough for me to get really concerned. This is a 103J, 640 volts. So this should come in at about, yeah, that's not bad, 9.7 nanofarad out of a, should be maybe 10. Write that down, 9.7. We'll put it on the fluke, and the fluke comes out significantly higher, above 10, which is where 103 should be. I mean, that's a big variance. That's 8.8 nanofarads different. Now we'll pick up a couple more from a box of caps. Let's go with a nice 1000 microfarad 16 volt cap. See what that has to say. So that's coming in at instead of 1000, it's coming in at 997, which is actually pretty good. I'm sorry, this is not looking horrible at these values. And that was also my experience earlier today when I gave this my initial test. The higher values this meter does okay with, even though the fluke consistently reads higher than this one. And again, that could simply be a calibration dial inside that I can get into and maybe adjust that. So let's go a little smaller now. This is going to be 220 microfarads, 25 volt. Yeah, 220, and this is showing 198. And on the fluke, yeah, the fluke is showing 213, which is a lot closer to the expected value. I'm going to just ground that to be sure. Yeah, it's just consistently showing 213. So this is what I experienced. The smaller the value, the less accurate this one is. So we'll keep going down in value. This is 100 microfarad. I don't even know. And I'm trying different ranges here now. But this is not... This is not saying anything reasonable. Oh. It's because I'm an idiot and I was plugged in, I was using the leads for the fluke. You were probably watching that saying, "What are you doing, you dope? Hook it up to the one you're testing." Yeah, you're right. Let's try that again. So 100 microfarad, 16 volt. Oh, that's not bad. 102. 102.26. Now this time I'll look at the fluke as well as you and get a reading. That's interesting. So that's 112. And again, it's just, this is consistently less than that. And it looks like, and I'd have to plot this on a graph, but it looks like the variance is growing a little bit. Let's go even smaller. It's the smallest electrolytic I have in here. This is a 10 microfarad. Well, that's fine. I have no complaint with what I'm getting on this meter right now. 10.9 on a 10 is certainly acceptable for almost any use. And the fluke calls it 10.48. The fluke is actually lower on this one. That's surprising. So I'm not getting consistency. Interesting. So I'm going to stop with the electrolytics for a little bit. Grab out some ceramic discs. Let's try a 0.1, a 104. Actually, let me try a 103, because this doesn't have a 103 in it? I mean, because everybody uses 103s, but everybody uses 104s too. So let's see what the 104 looks like. For a 1/10 of a microfarad. So that's 107 nanofarads, which is, again, that's only 7 off the rated value, which is certainly not unusual, and I certainly wouldn't reject that. Try it on the fluke. 105. Okay. So I'm wrong. This is coming out to be well within limits. So let's try a 2.2 microfarad. I'm going to apologize to this meter because it's coming out better. So that's 2.2. I'm not going to complain about that. And 2.1 on the fluke. So I will admit it, I was wrong. This capacitance tester certainly is well within any limits that I would want to see. So good, it looks like it's a good buy after all. Except for the fact that it's sold as new with a scratch screen and a missing battery case screw, but it was inexpensive enough that I can hand wave that away. So that's pretty much the end of the side-by-side test, because I'm not seeing any problem with it. So I'm going to stop taking notes and I'm going to put the fluke away. But while we have it all set up here, I'm going to go ahead and try the press-in points on the front and see what we get out of that. Gotta make sure I get the right. Not sure. Oop. Okay, this is supposed to be 0.68 microfarad, and it's coming in at 670 nanofarads, which again is perfectly reasonable. Now, inserting it, you have to go further in than I thought you did, but there's not a lot of tension, so you're not fighting it, and you're not going to damage the leads while you're testing, which is really nice. So let me try something else. This should be 4.7. .6, that's fine. And this is a 0.47, so we'll see what that smaller value comes out looking like. .51, that's within tolerances. It's not great, but it's within tolerances. I'm going to zero this again, just because. Give it a fair test. Let's see. Now we've got a 0.15 microfarad. 0.16, 160 nanofarads. I think this is pretty much a-okay. Huh. So there we go. I was wrong, and I'm not going to tear this apart. It seems to be working just fine. And I'll leave a link in the description if you want to get it. It's handy for the bench or handy for carrying it around. What I got it for was, instead of grabbing my fluke off the workbench, but when I'm going over to a box of capacitors that I might not know the value of, I can just check it with this on the go. So, I learned something, that my first impression on this was wrong, and it's an okay little device. Thanks for watching.